Now, continuing with some rather filthy news here on the Korean Peninsula. A total of more than 900 waste-carrying balloons were found across the country over the past couple of days. North Korea claimed it sent over 3,500 balloons carrying 15 tons worth of filth between Tuesday night and Sunday morning. The regime's vice defense minister said the deliveries would stop temporarily, but would resume should South Korea send anti-Pyongyang leaflets. For more on this, we are joined by Dr. Mark Berry this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Happy to be with you.
A pleasure. The launches are part of the North's latest series of provocations. What is the North intending to demonstrate with these balloons? Simply, why are they doing this?
Well, overtly, the ROK balloon launches have resumed, and North Korea is protesting what was once considered a protected freedom of expression in South Korea, but no longer prohibited. So being an extremely prideful society, the North is reacting this way because it feels belittled and marginalized and treated like the clear loser in the 75 years of inter-Korean competition. And so it feels its very legitimacy is being questioned like never before. And in the absence of inter-Korean communication, they lash out with these so-called trash balloons. Now, more specifically, the North is also trying to insult the South Koreans just before the commencement of the Africa Summit, but it stopped the balloon launches before most of the leaders arrived. So I think it was a deliberate timing.
Right, and there are concerns that this balloon war could escalate into a military conflict between the two Koreas. What's your take on this?
Well, I think balloon war, whatever you want to call it, between the two Koreas is very risky because Hamas used incendiary balloons against Israel for years, and look where that conflict is now. Anything flown over either country's sovereign airspace is in fact provocative and likely a violation of the 1954 armistice. In fact, just today, Hezbollah sent explosive-laden drones to the Golan Heights in northern Israel in order to start forest fires. Fortunately, they put the fires out. So North Korea watches intently how others conduct low-intensity conflict, and you never know what they may try to adopt down the road.
Right, and South Korea has already warned the North to stop its, quote, low-grade actions. But how should South Korea respond to such actions in the future? I mean, the country appears to be considering a plan to resume propaganda campaigns using loudspeakers against North Korea. Do you think this is a good idea?
I think it's a bad idea, but I do think the loudspeakers is the next option because South Korea doesn't really want to commence the balloon launches or encourage the NGOs to do so anymore. The tragedy is that North Korean civilians, if South Koreans fly balloons over the DMZ, they risk arrest or worse if they pick up any South Korean balloons. And given that balloon launches are really a function of ROK domestic politics, frankly, there are better ways to get information into the North. But if loudspeakers are again erected, the North will unpack their own loudspeakers overnight, and it may not stop there, but it will become a vicious cycle until South Korean islands near the northern limit line undergo artillery practice, so to speak, from the North, and you then risk deadly miscalculation.
Right, and on top of these, sending these filth-carrying balloons, North Korea also fired ballistic missiles last week following its failed satellite launch attempt. What do you believe are the underlying reasons for such continued provocative behavior?
Well, the North, they launched 18 what they call super large multiple rocket launchers at once. But if you watch the videos, such as the quick clips that you showed in your B-rolls, you'll notice that some of them start to veer off course. And that means some of them likely landed far off target. Now, the North wants the world to think that they possess reliable weapons. But in Iran's April 13th attack on Israel, with over 200 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles, it revealed that many failed to reach their targets or veered wildly off course. So if Israel, the U.S., and the UK hadn't intercepted those missiles headed for Israel, open warfare could have broken out between Israel and Iran. So essentially, the North is trying to show through these missile tests that they are not a weaker military power to the South. It fits their own dynamic, even if the rest of the world thinks that this is something completely weird and strange.
Right, and now North Korea has also been accused of strengthening its military cooperation with Russia. Which direction are the Pyongyang-Moscow ties heading following the failed satellite launch attempt?
Well, President Putin is expected to visit North Korea, and I believe possibly Vietnam, as soon as he completes the reorganization of his Ministry of Defense and General Staff. His main objective is to win the war in Ukraine or negotiate a settlement from a position of strength. I believe his sole purpose in improving relations with North Korea is to get as much surplus artillery shells and modern missiles as he can. And what Putin gives Kim in return is frankly relatively minor. And though he sent Russian satellite engineers to help the North, it wasn't enough to make the North's third satellite launch attempt a success. So I think Putin will discard his relationship with Kim the moment he no longer needs him, and then Kim will feel abandoned with China breathing down his neck, trying to coax North Korea more in a direction that is beneficial to China.
Right, and just one last question before we let you go. Shifting to China, Pyongyang and Beijing's relations have become strained following the inclusion of references to the denuclearization in the recent ROK Japan-China joint statement. Now, what's next for North Korea's relations with China?
Well, as much as people have said that the trilateral summit held last weekend in Seoul, that the North made cast an aspersion on China by sort of signing off to the phrase of denuclearization, the reality is that it's the 75th anniversary of Sino-DPRK ties. And I believe by October, Kim Jong-un will have to make an obligatory trip to Beijing and pay his courtesies and respects to President Xi. It's something that he can't avoid. So in the end, that's why I say, once President Putin decides to forego North Korea, having shared an 880-mile border with China, North Korea will have to deal with Beijing. So that's why the slim hope of any normalization with the United States or any normalization between North Korea and Japan is very important to Kim to offset what will inevitably be enormous pressure coming from China. And right now, the relationship with Putin is just a brief respite.
Right, Dr. Berry, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.